Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Even though that the 14 Republicans are being evil and not embracing the Second Amendment, however, the Supreme Court in New York City has embraced the Second Amendment. So, hooray for justice, everybody, and justice for all. Here's the breaking news. Supreme Court announces massive Second Amendment ruling. All right. The Supreme Court on Thursday handed down its opinion in a landmark Second Amendment rights case, the biggest win for gun rights since the court's Heller ruling, holding that New York's proper cause requirement violates the 14th Amendment by preventing law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms in public for self-defense. This is what I'm getting at is here's like how are they going to pass these things when we have even the Supreme Court, I would say, that was actively defending the Second Amendment and getting rid of this BS that's happened in New York City. Not just that, though. In California, one of these type of deals was also shot down by the Supreme Court because it was also considered unconstitutional. So it's like they're trying to do this, and they're not doing a very good job because they're getting shut down by the Supreme Court. So, again, it's a huge win for people for the Second Amendment rights, even though yesterday did seem very bleak. The ruling came down 6-3 with Justice Clarence Thomas writing the majority opinion, joined by Justices Robert Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, plus concurring opinions by Justice Alito and Justice Kavanaugh. Justices Breyer wrote the dissent, joined by Sotomayor and Kagan. Thomas' opinion explains in part that confining the right to bear arms to the home would make little sense that self-defense is the central component of the Second Amendment right itself. Thomas also writes, in the District of Columbia v. Heller, 554 U.S. 570 2008, and McDonald v. Chicago 561 742 2010, we recognize that the Second and 14th Amendments protect the right of an ordinary law-abiding citizen to possess a handgun in the form for self-defense. In this case, petitioners and respondents agree that ordinary law-abiding citizens have a similar right to carry handguns publicly for their self-defense. We too agree and now hold consistent with Heller and McDonald that the 2nd and 14th Amendments protect an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home. Boom. That's pretty huge. And, by the way, this is another thing why the Supreme Court, if this ever gets into the actual Supreme Court, it has to pass the Supreme Court what these people are putting in. And I don't think they can even do this because, again, that whole bill that they're putting with the red flag laws and everything is completely unconstitutional. So if they're saying this is unconstitutional, well, dear God, whatever the hell those Republicans and those Democrats are putting for the red flag gun laws and all that stuff, it's 100% unbelievable unconstitutional. So again, I don't see how they're going to pass that other law because it goes to the House, and how they're going to pass it, all this other stuff, when this didn't pass in New York. So, again, I'm not seeing on to where this whole thing is going to really work out for them in the long run. It's quite astonishing, really. Justice Thomas also explained that the Second Amendment doesn't take a back seat to other God-given rights defined by the Bill of Rights as belonging to the people and not be infringed upon by the government. Yeah. The constitutional right to bear arms in public for self-defense is not a second-class right, subject to an entirely different body of rules than the other Bill of Rights guarantees. We know of no other constitutional right that an individual may exercise only after demonstrating to government officers some special need. That is not how the First Amendment works when it comes to unpopular speech or the speech exercise of religion. It is not how the Sixth Amendment works when it comes to defendants' right to confront the witnesses against them. And it's not how the Second Amendment works when it comes to public carry for self-defense. Now, New York's proper cause requirement violates the 14th Amendment in that it prevents law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their right to keep and bear arms. We therefore reverse the judgment of the Court of Appeals and remand the case for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. And in his concurring opinion, Justice Samuel Alito noted that today, unfortunately, many Americans have good reason to fear that they will be victimized if they are unable to protect themselves. And today, no less, in 1791, the Second Amendment guarantees the right to do so, he declared. I agree. Because when you remove the people's the ability to protect themselves, all you do is get crime. As we've seen in the Oval shooting, that those people were dead, children are killed because of the enactment of the government, and the government preventing the people that have the weapons to defend their families, their children. So it goes to show that we cannot rely on the government. Here's the thing, guys. In life, you should never, ever, ever have to rely on the government. Ever. What you would have to do is that you have to rely on yourself. You rely on yourself and only yourself to get things done. Sure, you may have friends or family or whatever to help you along the way, give you a little bit of a push. But at the end of the day, it's just you, and you govern on how well you succeed in life. And that is just the reality. Obviously, as for normal people, as for normal Americans, we're never going to see that $1 million or that hundreds of thousands of dollars in our lifetimes, right? It's just not possible. We don't fathom that because it's not a possibility. However, we do understand that we do have the power to succeed by ourselves, and we have the ability to do it ourselves because we are our own individualism. We're our own individual person, and we should be able to have our very own right, which a lot of these other countries like Australia and the UK, where they want to come out in the woodworks and say like, oh, why do you need guns? Oh, why? It's because it's to defend ourselves. How many more of these rapes or the knife crimes that you have in your country that is high because of you not being able to defend yourself? It's like majority of people don't have the ability to defend themselves for a hand-to-hand combat, and even still, that's not the greatest way for defense. If you have a gun, you can defend yourself. There was a man, I may believe, on Twitch that was held at gunpoint, where he could have easily defended himself when some people break into his home. But you can't do that because you can't have guns. This is just what the reality is, alright? So, that being said, we have the ability to defend ourselves here in this country. That's what the Second Amendment is for. Not just for being able to repel the government and their fucking atrocities, but also to defend ourselves, our families, and everybody that is involved. Defend other people if something bad comes up. That's what the Second Amendment is for. And that's why this win is so strong and so important. Within moments, though, the usual leftist pundits on CNN and elsewhere were quick to make clowns of themselves by ignoring what the ruling actually says and launching into nonsense. CNN's greatest legal mind, Jeffrey Toobin, is a prime example. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin is not happy with Scott's Second Amendment ruling. And we're going to go see here.
In the United States, you have the right under the First Amendment to say pretty much anything, anywhere, because we have freedom of speech in the United States. What the conservatives on the Supreme Court are saying is we want the Second Amendment to be a first-class right like the First Amendment. And we want to be able to carry guns anywhere, anytime, without any sort of regulation by the government.
Yes! Yes! 100% fucking yes! Because it is a right. It is a right given to people, where it should 100% still be a given right. Fuck you, Jeffrey Toobin, you cuck.
Without background checks, without restrictions on where you can take a weapon.
What do you mean? There is already background checks across this country. I may believe it's even federally. You have to have a background check federally. You cannot just purchase a gun without a background check. What are you talking about, you lunatic?
Without restrictions on how you can carry a weapon. Now, they haven't gone that far yet, but they are clearly moving in that direction. And you know, we can't separate this issue from what's going on in the world, where, you know, we have a tremendous problem with gun violence in this country. We have mass.
We don't necessarily have, it's not that big of a problem as you really think it is. And also, by the way, majority of those gun violences that are happening are in blue states with massive gun restrictions.
shootings. We have 18-year-olds with access to AR-15s. And the Supreme Court is moving in the direction of saying the government cannot regulate that traffic at all.
Because they can't regulate the traffic, because it would be unconstitutional, and it's everybody's God-given right to be able to have to defend themselves. You don't want people to defend themselves because you want complete control. That's why. So, as you can see here, we have these people are also a lunatic. See, what I'm talking about here is that these people spout all this information about not being able to have background checks and all this other stuff that is already in place. That's already in place, and it's already, I may believe, a federal law to where you have to have background checks. That's not what they're saying, and nobody's going to revert against background checks. I would say that 90% to maybe almost 100% of Americans would agree that there should be a form of background checks. So you're not going to get rid of the background checks. Even I believe that there should be background checks, but not with red flag laws, because that's a huge other issue. But there should be background checks, because of course you don't want to just give a gun to a lunatic that has stuff like this. And the person that and again, an 18-year-old having a gun, that's not really the problem here. The problem of that person is that the police failed on their job, first off, and two, they have prior knowledge of this kid and they didn't prevent it from happening. So again, it's just like, okay, so what if he goes in with a knife? He goes stabs a couple of kids, and then we're not gonna say that's not a tragedy? It's like, that is a tragedy. It's bad. Either way, these people are lunatics. They're evil, and we already know this. But a huge win, by the way, guys. Huge win. That's great. Now let's try to focus on getting rid of that other bill that's coming up from the dirty Republicans that we hate so much. That's it for the video, guys. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.